Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. Today, we're going to be looking at job hopping,
Okay.
especially for those of you just starting out in your careers.
Yeah.
I know it can be a bit of a minefield.
It is.
Job hopping.
Yeah.
It often gets a bad rap, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's some sort of millennial scarlet letter.
Right.
But what if I told you that job hopping, when done right, could actually be the secret weapon for young professionals?
You're absolutely right.
Really?
Yeah, it's not always about finding that forever job right out of the gate.
Right.
In fact, strategically hopping between roles can be a fantastic way to build a really strong foundation for your career.
Okay, so before we go any further, let's get on the same page. What exactly do we mean by job hopping? Is it just about having a resume longer than a CVS receipt?
Not quite. It's more about the frequency and intention behind those job changes. We're talking about moving between roles relatively quickly, often within a few years, and doing it with a clear purpose in mind to gain diverse experiences, build a variety of skills, and ultimately accelerate your career growth.
So it's not just about jumping ship at the first sign of boredom.
Right.
It's about making calculated moves that align with your long-term goals.
Exactly. Think of it as a choose your own adventure for your career. You get to try on different hats, see what fits, what you enjoy, and what you excel at. And in the process, you gather a collection of experiences that make you a more well-rounded and adaptable
That
professional.
makes a lot of sense. I remember feeling so much pressure to find the perfect job right out of college.
Oh, yeah.
It was like everyone expected me to have it all figured out, and I was completely lost.
Yeah.
I ended up taking a job in marketing,
Mm-hmm.
just because it sounded cool, but it turned out to be a total nightmare.
It's completely normal to feel that pressure. And honestly, it's almost impossible to truly know what you want in a career until you've had some real-world experience.
Right.
That's why trying out different roles in your 20s can be so valuable. You get to test the waters, see what sparks your interest, and discover what you're really good at.
Okay, so let's say you're a young professional who's considering job hopping.
Okay.
What are some things to keep in mind to make sure it's a strategic move rather than a career kamikaze mission?
First and foremost, you need to have a clear vision for your career.
Right.
Where do you want to be in 5, 10, even 20 years? What kind of impact do you want to make? What skills do you need to develop to get there? Having a roadmap, even a loose one, helps you choose roles that will actually get you closer to your destination.
So it's not just about saying yes to every shiny new opportunity that comes along.
Right.
It's about being intentional and making sure those opportunities align with your bigger picture.
Exactly. Each job hop should be like a strategic chess move, bringing you closer to your ultimate career goals. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have every detail meticulously planned out, but you should have a general direction in mind.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's be honest. There's still a stigma around job hopping, right? Especially from older generations who might see it as a lack of commitment or loyalty. How do you address that elephant in the room?
It's true. The perception of job hopping can vary across generations.
Yeah.
But the reality is the job market has transformed dramatically.
Okay.
The days of staying with one company for your entire career are long gone. In today's world, adaptability and a willingness to embrace new challenges are key to success.
So it's almost like job hopping, when done right, becomes a testament to your adaptability rather than a red flag.
Absolutely. It shows that you're not afraid to step outside of your comfort zone, learn new things, and take on new challenges. And in today's fast-paced world, those qualities are incredibly valuable to employers.
That's a great point. It's about reframing the narrative, isn't it? Instead of seeing job hopping as a negative, we need to start viewing it as a sign of ambition, adaptability, and a desire to continuously learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about showcasing your growth mindset and your willingness to embrace the ever-changing landscape of the modern workplace.
I'm really starting to see how job hopping can be a powerful strategy,
Yeah.
but I think there are still a lot of misconceptions out there about job hopping. What are some of the biggest myths you've encountered?
One of the biggest myths is that job hoppers are disloyal or unreliable. But the reality is many people change jobs to find a better cultural fit, more growth opportunities, or a role that truly aligns with their passions. It's not about being flaky, it's about being proactive and taking ownership of your career journey.
So it's more about being loyal to your own growth and aspirations rather than being blindly loyal to a company, right?
Precisely. It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your own career path and make choices that serve your best interests.
Another myth I often hear is that job hopping will hurt your chances of getting hired in the future. People assume that employers will see a long list of jobs and think, oh, this person can't commit.
That's a common misconception, but it's important to remember that the hiring landscape has evolved.
Okay.
Many employers now understand that job hopping can be a sign of ambition and adaptability. The key is to be able to articulate your reasons for changing jobs in a way that highlights your growth and your commitment to finding the right fit.
So it's all about crafting a compelling narrative, right?
Right.
Showing how each job hop has contributed to your overall skill set and brought you closer to your career goals.
Exactly. It's about turning what could be perceived as a negative into a positive, showcasing your diverse experiences and highlighting the unique value you bring to the table.
That's a really empowering perspective. It's like saying, hey, I'm not afraid to try new things, learn from my experiences, and continuously evolve. And that makes me a valuable asset to any team.
Exactly. And I think that confidence and self-awareness are key to successfully navigating the world of job hopping.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of intentionality, addressing the stigma and debunking those pesky myths, but let's get down to brass tacks. How can someone actually make job hopping work for them? What are some practical tips for making strategic moves?
That's a great question. One of the most important things is to focus on building transferable skills. These are skills that are valuable across different roles and industries, such as communication, problem solving, critical thinking, and leadership.
So even if you're hopping between jobs that seem completely different on the surface, you're still developing a core set of skills that will always be in demand.
Exactly. It's like building a Swiss Army knife of skills that you can use to tackle any challenge that comes your way.
I love that analogy. It's about being versatile and adaptable, which are essential qualities in today's job market. So how can you actually identify and develop these transferable skills?
First, take some time to reflect on your strengths and weaknesses. What are you naturally good at? What do you enjoy doing? What skills do you want to develop further? Once you have a clearer picture, you can start seeking out opportunities that will allow you to hone those skills.
So it's not just about taking any job that comes along. It's about being strategic and choosing roles that will help you build your skill set in a way that aligns with your long-term goals.
Exactly. And this might involve taking on new challenges, seeking out mentorships, or even pursuing additional training or certifications. The key is to be proactive and intentional about your professional development.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
It's about investing in yourself and your future earning potential.
Yeah.
But beyond skills, what are some other things to consider when making a job hop?
Networking is absolutely crucial.
Oh, yeah.
Every job you take is an opportunity to build relationships with new people, learn about different industries, and expand your professional circle. You never know who might become a valuable mentor, collaborator, or even your future employer.
So it's like each job hop is a chance to plant seeds that could blossom into amazing opportunities down the road.
Exactly. And it's not just about collecting business cards. It's about building genuine relationships and staying connected with people over time.
That's a great point. It's about fostering authentic connections that can benefit you throughout your career journey.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about transferable skills and networking. What about the actual process of job hopping? Are there any tips for making a smooth transition from one role to the next?
One of the most important things is to leave each job on good terms. Give proper notice, fulfill your commitments, and maintain positive relationships with your colleagues. You never know when you might cross paths again in the future.
It's about burning bridges, right? Even if you're moving on, you want to leave a positive impression and maintain those connections.
Exactly. It's about building a reputation for professionalism and integrity, which will serve you well throughout your career.
That's such a valuable reminder. It's about being mindful of your long-term reputation and building a network of people who will vouch for you and support you along the way.
Absolutely. And it's also important to be prepared to answer questions about your job hopping history during interviews. Be honest, transparent, and focus on the positive aspects of your experiences.
So instead of shying away from your job hopping past, you're embracing it and using it to showcase your adaptability and growth mindset.
Precisely. It's about owning your narrative and framing it in a way that highlights your strengths and your unique value proposition.
This is all so insightful. We've covered a lot of ground, from debunking myths to practical tips for making strategic job hops. But before we wrap up this part of our conversation, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier: the importance of having a clear vision for your career.
That's a crucial element that we can't overemphasize.
Right, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. as the saying goes.
Exactly. Without a clear vision, you risk hopping aimlessly from one job to another without making any real progress towards your long-term goals.
So how can someone actually go about defining their career vision? It sounds like a daunting task, especially when you're just starting out and feeling overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
It can be a bit overwhelming at first, but it's a worthwhile exercise that can help you make more informed decisions about your career path. A good place to start is by reflecting on your values, interests, and passions.
So it's about getting clear on what truly matters to you, what kind of impact you want to make in the world, and what kind of work would bring you a sense of fulfillment.
Yes. And it's also helpful to think about your strengths and weaknesses. What are you naturally good at? What do you enjoy doing? What skills do you want to develop further? Once you have a better understanding of your natural talents and aspirations, you can start exploring different career paths that align with your unique profile.
It's like piecing together a puzzle, isn't it? You're gathering clues about yourself, your values, your skills, and your passions, and then you're using those pieces to create a picture of your ideal career.
That's a great analogy. It's a process of self-discovery that can take time and experimentation, but it's ultimately about crafting a career that aligns with your authentic self.
This is so inspiring. It's like giving yourself permission to dream big and create a career that truly reflects your passions and your purpose.
Exactly. And I think that's something that we often forget in the midst of job searches and career ladders. It's important to remember that work should be more than just a way to earn a paycheck. It should be a vehicle for expressing your talents, making a contribution to the world, and living a fulfilling life.
I love that perspective. It's about finding that sweet spot where your passions, your skills, and your values intersect.
Exactly. And I think that's a powerful message, especially for young professionals who are just starting out and feeling overwhelmed by all the options.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our conversation, from debunking myths about job hopping to practical tips for making strategic moves and defining your career vision.
It's been a great discussion so far.
But before we move on to the next part, I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder. We've talked about how job hopping can be a strategic move for career growth, but what are the potential downsides or pitfalls to be aware of?
That's an important question to consider.
We'll dive deeper into this and other thought-provoking questions in part 2 of our episode, so be sure to tune back in.
We look forward to continuing this conversation.
See you next time.
Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. We're continuing our deep dive into job hopping. And in this part, we're going to explore some of the potential downsides and pitfalls. You might encounter some.
You know, for as much as we've been talking about the upsides of job hopping,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to acknowledge that it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Hmm.
There are definitely challenges that come with changing jobs frequently.
Absolutely. Job hopping, like any career strategy, has its own set of potential drawbacks.
Right.
It's not a magic bullet,
Right.
and it requires a certain level of self-awareness, planning, and resilience to navigate those challenges effectively.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those potential pitfalls. What are some things that job hoppers need to be mindful of?
One of the biggest challenges is the risk of appearing flaky or uncommitted to potential employers.
Mhm.
If your resume reads like a travel itinerary, some hiring managers might raise an eyebrow and question your ability to stick with a role for the long haul.
It's like that old saying, a rolling stone gathers no moss. But in today's job market, isn't it more about gathering diverse experiences and skills than staying put in one place for years on end?
You're absolutely right. The key is to be able to articulate your job hopping history in a way that highlights your growth, adaptability, and commitment to finding the right fit.
Okay,
It's about showcasing the value you brought to each role and how those experiences have shaped your career trajectory.
so it's not about hiding your job hopping past, it's about owning it and reframing it as a positive.
Exactly. It's about crafting a compelling narrative that showcases your diverse experiences as assets rather than liabilities.
Okay, so let's say you're in an interview and the hiring manager brings up your freaky job changes. What's the best way to address that concern?
Honesty and transparency are key.
Yeah.
Don't try to sugarcoat your reasons for leaving previous roles. Instead, be upfront about your motivations and highlight how those moves have contributed to your professional growth. For example, you might say something like, I've been fortunate to have opportunities to work in a variety of roles and industries, which has allowed me to develop a broad skill set and gain valuable experience in different areas. I'm now seeking a role where I can leverage my diverse background and contribute to a company for the long term.
That's a great example. It's about framing your job hopping history in a way that emphasizes your adaptability, your willingness to learn, and your commitment to finding the right fit.
Precisely. It's about turning a potential negative into a positive by showcasing the unique value you bring to the table.
Okay, so we've talked about addressing the perception of flakiness.
Right.
What are some other potential downsides of job hopping that we should be aware of?
Another challenge is the potential for gaps in your knowledge or experience.
Uh-huh.
If you're constantly moving from one role to another, you might not have the opportunity to develop deep expertise in any one area.
It's like being a jack of all trades but a master of none.
That's a good analogy. While having a broad range of skills is valuable, it's also important to have some areas of specialization that set you apart from the competition.
So it's about finding that balance between breadth and depth of experience.
Exactly. And this might involve being more strategic about the types of jobs you choose, making sure that each role contributes to your long-term career goals and allows you to deepen your expertise in areas that align with your aspirations.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being intentional about your career path and making sure that each job hop is a step forward rather than a lateral move or even a step back.
Absolutely. And this also highlights the importance of continuous learning even when you're not actively job hopping. Stay up to date on industry trends, take courses, attend workshops, read books and articles, anything that helps you deepen your knowledge and expertise in your chosen field.
It's like investing in your own professional development so that you're always prepared for the next opportunity, whether it comes through job hopping or through advancement within your current role.
Exactly. Continuous learning is essential for anyone who wants to stay ahead of the curve and thrive in today's rapidly evolving job market.
Okay, so we've talked about the perception of flakiness and the potential for knowledge gaps.
Right.
Are there any other potential pitfalls of job hopping?
Another challenge is the potential for burnout.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly adapting to new environments, learning new systems, and building new relationships can be mentally and emotionally draining.
It's like running a marathon without ever taking a break.
That's a great analogy. It's important to prioritize self-care, set boundaries, and make sure you're taking time to recharge and de-stress, especially when you're transitioning between roles.
So even though job hopping can be exciting and stimulating, it's important to pace yourself and make sure you're not sacrificing your well-being in the process.
Absolutely. Your mental and physical health are paramount, and you need to protect your energy so that you can show up fully in each new role.
That's such a crucial reminder. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new opportunities, but it's essential to be mindful of your own limits and make sure you're not burning the candle at both ends.
Exactly. And I think this highlights the importance of having a strong support system, both personally and professionally. Surround yourself with people who understand your goals, who can offer encouragement and guidance, and who can help you navigate the challenges that come with job hopping.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders and advisors in your corner, rooting you on and helping you stay on track.
Exactly. And that support can make all the difference when you're feeling overwhelmed or uncertain.
Okay, so we've talked about some potential downsides of job hopping, from the perception of flakiness to the risk of burnout.
Right.
But I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about the other side of the equation.
Okay.
Employers.
Yeah.
How can companies adapt to this new landscape of work where job hopping is becoming more common?
That's a great question. I think companies need to recognize that loyalty is no longer a one-way street. They can't expect employees to stay in jobs that don't offer growth opportunities, competitive salaries, and a supportive work environment.
So it's about creating a mutually beneficial relationship where both the employer and the employee feel valued and respected.
Exactly. And I think this involves offering more flexibility, professional development opportunities, and a culture of continuous learning.
It's like investing in your employees' growth, knowing that it will ultimately benefit the company as well.
Right. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
And I think companies that embrace this approach will be the ones that attract and retain top talent in the years to come.
It's like they're saying, we want you to grow with us, and we're willing to invest in your development.
And that's a powerful message that resonates with today's workforce, especially with younger generations who are looking for more than just a paycheck. They're looking for purpose, meaning, and the opportunity to make a difference.
They're looking for a company that aligns with their values and that supports their growth and development.
Exactly. And I think companies that can offer those things will have a significant advantage in attracting and retaining top talent.
Okay, so we've talked about how companies can adapt to this new landscape of work. But what about individuals? What can we do to prepare ourselves for the future of work, even if we're not currently job hopping?
I think one of the most important things is to cultivate a lifelong learning mindset.
Okay.
Embrace the idea that learning is an ongoing process, not something that ends when you graduate from school or complete a training program.
It's like saying, I'm a student of life and I'm always eager to learn and grow.
Exactly. And this might involve taking online courses, attending workshops, reading industry publications, or simply having conversations with people who are doing interesting work that you admire.
It's about being curious, seeking out new knowledge, and staying ahead of the curve in your field.
Yes. And I think another important aspect of preparing for the future of work is to build a strong network. Connect with people in your industry, attend events, and engage in online communities.
It's like building a support system of people who can offer advice, insights, and even potential job leads.
Exactly. Your network can be a valuable resource as you navigate your career journey, whether you're actively job hopping or simply staying informed about new opportunities and trends.
This is all such great advice. It's about being proactive, adaptable, and constantly investing in your own growth and development.
Absolutely. The future of work is all about embracing change, being a lifelong learner, and building a strong network of support.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our conversation, from the potential downsides of job hopping to the evolving role of employers and the importance of preparing for the future of work.
It's been a fantastic discussion.
But before we move on to the final part of our episode, I want to leave our listeners with another thought-provoking question.
Okay.
We've talked about job hopping as a strategy, but what are some alternative approaches to career growth that might be worth exploring?
That's a great question to ponder.
We'll delve into that and other thought-provoking ideas in the final part of our deep dive, so be sure to tune back in.
We look forward to wrapping up this conversation with you.
Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. We're wrapping up our deep dive into job hopping. And in this final part, we're going to explore some alternative paths to career growth beyond the traditional job hop.
It's been such a fascinating conversation so far, and I think it's important to remember that job hopping isn't the only way to build a fulfilling and successful career. There are so many different approaches, and the best path for you will depend on your individual goals, values, and circumstances.
That's a great point. It's about finding what works best for you, your personality, and your career aspirations. So let's dive into some of those alternative paths. What are some other ways to climb that career ladder, so to speak, without necessarily hopping between different companies?
One approach is to focus on vertical movement within your current company. This means seeking out opportunities for promotion or advancement within your existing organization.
So instead of looking for opportunities outside the company, you're looking for ways to grow and expand your role within your current team or department.
Exactly. This can be a great way to deepen your expertise, build relationships with key stakeholders, and gain a deeper understanding of the inner workings of your organization.
But how do you actually make that happen? It's not always easy to get noticed or to find those opportunities for advancement, especially in larger companies.
You're absolutely right. It requires proactivity and a strategic approach. One key is to communicate your career aspirations to your manager and to other influential people within your organization. Let them know that you're eager to take on new challenges and that you're interested in growing with the company.
So it's about being vocal about your ambitions and making sure that your superiors know that you're not content with just coasting along in your current role.
Exactly. It's about showcasing your ambition and your desire to contribute at a higher level. Another important strategy is to actively seek out opportunities to expand your skill set and take on new responsibilities.
So it's not just about waiting for those opportunities to fall into your lap. It's about creating those opportunities for yourself.
Precisely. Volunteer for projects, seek out mentorship from senior leaders, and take advantage of any training or development programs offered by your company. The more you invest in your own growth, the more valuable you become to the organization, and the more likely you are to be considered for advancement opportunities.
That's great advice. It's about showing initiative, taking ownership of your career development, and making yourself an indispensable asset to the company. But what if you're in a situation where vertical movement within your current company just isn't possible? Maybe there's limited room for growth, or maybe the company culture doesn't support internal promotions. What are some other options?
That's a great question, and it's a reality for many people. In those situations, lateral moves can be a fantastic way to expand your skill set and gain exposure to different areas of the business.
So instead of moving up the ladder, you're moving sideways, exploring different departments or functions within the company.
Exactly. Lateral moves can be a great way to broaden your horizons, learn new skills, and gain a more holistic understanding of how the different parts of the organization fit together.
I can see how that would be valuable, especially for someone who's early in their career and trying to figure out what they're truly passionate about.
Absolutely. Lateral moves can be a fantastic way to explore different career paths without having to leave the company. And they can also be a great way to build relationships with people in different departments, which can open up new opportunities for collaboration and advancement in the future.
So it's like you're creating your own internal network within the company, building bridges between different departments, and expanding your sphere of influence.
Exactly. And those relationships can be invaluable, both for your personal growth and for your career advancement.
This is all so insightful. I'm really starting to see how there are so many different ways to approach career growth, even within the same company. But what if you're feeling stuck in a rut and neither vertical nor lateral movement seems possible? What advice would you give to someone who's feeling stagnant in their current role?
That's a common feeling, and it's important to remember that you always have options. One strategy is to proactively seek out ways to make your current role more challenging and engaging.
So instead of waiting for your manager to give you more responsibility, you're taking initiative and finding ways to stretch yourself and expand your role from within.
Exactly. This might involve taking on new projects, volunteering for leadership roles, or even proposing new initiatives that align with your skills and interests.
It's about taking ownership of your career development and showing that you're a proactive and resourceful employee who's eager to contribute at a higher level.
Precisely. And even if those efforts don't lead to an immediate promotion or raise, they can still be incredibly valuable for your professional growth. You'll gain new skills, build your confidence, and demonstrate your commitment to continuous improvement, which are all qualities that will serve you well throughout your career.
That's such an empowering message.
Yeah.
It's about taking control of your own destiny rather than waiting for someone else to hand you opportunities.
Absolutely. And I think that proactive approach is essential for anyone who wants to thrive in today's dynamic work environment.
Okay, so we've talked about vertical movement, lateral moves, and even ways to reinvigorate your current role. Are there any other alternative paths to career growth that we haven't touched on yet?
One path that's becoming increasingly popular is the gig economy. More and more people are choosing to work as freelancers, consultants, or independent contractors, either as a side hustle or as their primary source of income.
So instead of being tethered to a single employer, you're creating your own portfolio of clients and projects, essentially becoming your own boss.
Exactly. The gig economy offers a lot of flexibility and autonomy, which can be incredibly appealing, especially for people who value work-life balance or who have entrepreneurial aspirations.
But it's not without its challenges, right? Freelancing can be unpredictable, and it often requires a lot of self-discipline and hustle to find clients and manage your own workload.
You're absolutely right. It's not for everyone, and it requires a certain personality type and skill set to thrive in that environment. But for those who are drawn to the freedom and flexibility of the gig economy, it can be a rewarding and fulfilling path to career growth.
That's so true. It's about finding what aligns with your values and your lifestyle. And it's exciting to see how the traditional definition of career is evolving, with more and more people choosing alternative paths that offer greater flexibility and autonomy.
Absolutely. The world of work is changing rapidly, and it's important to be open to new possibilities and to embrace the diversity of career paths available to us.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this final part of our conversation, from exploring alternative paths to career growth to discussing the evolving landscape of work. I hope our listeners feel empowered to take ownership of their careers and to explore the many different options available to them.
It's been such a pleasure discussing this important topic with you.
Thank you for joining us on Life Unfiltered. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a topic that's shaping the way we live, work, and connect. Until then, stay curious and keep living life unfiltered.